everyone's all the religious groups are talking about how to gain salvation, how to get saved, all of these things. So today's verses are going to explain that. So without further ado, we'll chant the prayers to the gurus. Maybe Ben, you can do a great seva here just by scrolling so you can see. Or Piyush can do the seva, no problem. The mass is also there. So now let's see. If not, someone can take the laptop. No problem. Oh, how did you do that? I don't know. The laptop works, so it's pretty easy on the laptop. Okay. I'll begin anyhow. Oh. Now I'm tripping everything out. Oh, yeah. Right. Let's begin our Srimad Bhagavatam. Again, we just did a nice recap. YouTube didn't get it, but I was on Facebook and live, may have heard that we are now Krishna. It's inevitable. He's leaving. Everyone is lamenting for his leaving. At least the devotees of Hastinapur, who now are ruling the world peacefully, beautifully, wonderfully, except that their most dearest object of affection, Krishna, is no longer needed for the proper setting of religion in the world. So this was the historical event, and now he's ready to move forward. So we are going to do, you guys can see right from there, text 22 of chapter 10. What happened?
It's not loud enough.
Oh, my wife is saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Sa eva bhuyo nijavirya choditam. Swajiva mayam prakritim sashrikshatim.
Swajivamayam prakritim srikshrutam.
Anamarut Anamarupatmani rupanamani.
Namarupatmani rupanamani.
Vidhit samano nusasada shastrakrit.
Vidhi samano nushrashakrit.
Saha, he, Eva, thus, Bhuya, again, Nija, own personal, Virya, potency, Choditam, performance of, Swa, own, Jiva, living being, Mayam, external energy, Prakritim, unto material nature, Sishrikshatim, while recreating, Anama, without mundane designation, Rupa Atmani, forms of the soul, Rupanamani, forms and names. Vidhitsamanaha, desiring to award. Anusasara, entrusted. Shastrakrit, the compiler of revealed scripture. I know a nice devotee named Shastrakrit, so now I know what it means. The compiler of revealed scripture. Translation, the personality of Godhead, again desiring to give names and forms to his parts and parcels, the living entities, place them under the guidance of material nature. By his own potency, material nature is empowered to recreate. Oh, now we're getting into some philosophy. Who is speaking again? All the ladies of the Vedas. Remember, we were talking about how the ordinary talks about the supreme personality of Godhead, especially when done with love, is actually more attractive than even the hymns of the Vedas. So this is the talks of the devotees are super nectarian. So now here's what they're saying. The first thing they said last week, here he is, the original personality of Godhead, as we definitely remember him. He alone existed before the manifested creation of the modes of nature, and in him only, because he's the Supreme Lord, all living beings merge as if sleeping at night, their energy suspended. So all the ladies are on the rooftop, and this is their rooftops, and they're speaking this. The personality of Godhead, again desiring to give names and forms to his parts and parcels, the living entities, place them under the guidance of material nature. By his own potency, material nature is empowered to recreate. So it's talking about this material world, how we're actually all under the guidance of this material world. And this is our destiny as of right now. And it's its own self-replicating nature. It continues on. The main issue, you could say, in the material world or illusory attraction is the sexual impetus. And that's how the creation just keeps infinitely sustaining itself, because the whole creation, the whole energy, they're impelled towards sexual creation, and that continues it on. And even after one is destroyed, the new generation comes, and the new generation comes, and so on for eternity. So now the living entities, Prabhupada is saying, how do I just zoom out a little? Yeah. The living entities are parts and parcels of the Lord. They are of two varieties, namely Nitya Mukta and Nitya Buddha. The Nitya Muktas are eternally liberated souls, and they are eternally engaged in the reciprocation of transcendental loving service with the Lord in his eternal abode, beyond the manifested mundane creations. So that's like the spiritual world. The Nitya Muktas, they're constantly associating with the Lord in the spiritual world, depending on how they uh, prefer to associate with the Lord. Maybe it's Vishnu, maybe it's Ram, maybe it's Nrsimha, all depending on what's called their Ishtadev. Now, the Nityabada, which is going to be more relatable to us, but the Nityabada, or eternally conditioned souls, are entrusted to his external energy, Maya, for rectification of their rebellious attitude toward the Supreme Father. Why are we here? Repeat that. What is that? Rectification of our rebellious attitude towards the Supreme Father, meaning we don't really like God very much. We're not interested in God's plan. We're not interested in God's rules. We want to do it by our way, our desires. This is us. This is everybody in this material world. This is the consciousness. We may be like, okay, everyone maybe at a force may appreciate God to some degree or another. but then they pray to God, please give me my way. Thy will, I don't care that much. My will be done. So this is our problem. Nitya Bhadas are eternally forgetful of their relation with the Lord as parts and parcels. They are bewildered by the illusory energy as products of matter, and thus they are very busy in making plans in the material world for becoming happy. What are we busy doing? Yes. They go on merrily with plans, but by the will of the Lord, both the plan makers and the plans are annihilated at the end of a certain period. That's all of our plans. They will get annihilated. As above mentioned, this is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita as follows. In 9.7, he says, O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all the living entities merge into my nature. And again, when the time of creation is ripe, I begin creation by the agency of my external energy. So even if you make it to the top of this material world, now let's just say, maybe many lifetimes it takes you become the richest man in the world. Elon Musk must have done so many karmic things to get his Elon Musk position in this world. But let's just say Elon Musk, who is he, is a small fry as far as the heavenly planets. Maybe you work your way all the way up through the demigods, Chandra, Surya, Indra. But even so, all of them, Brahma, the creator, all of them have to die, and all of their plans have to end. Even Brahma's plans for creation, 100 years, what we said it in a past class, 4.3 trillion times 30 times 12 times 100, all these numbers. His life is so long, but his plans have to end. So all of our plans have to end. Craig, Hare Krishna. I'm always longing for Craig. Michael, you take care of Craig's seat. Very good. So the word Bhuya indicates again and again, that is to say, the process of creation, maintenance, and annihilation is going on perpetually by the external energy of the Lord. He is the cause of everything, but the living beings who are constitutionally the parts and parcels of the Lord and are forgetful of the sweet relation are given a chance again to get rid of the clutches of the external energy and to revive the living being's consciousness. The revealed scriptures are also created by the Lord. The Vedic literatures are the guiding directions for the conditioned soul so they can get free from the repetition of creation and annihilation of the material world and the material body. So what is our guiding directions? I just read it. Someone tell me.
My brain is adjusting.
You're still adjusting, no problem.
Creation, material world, and material body.
No, but what is our guiding directions so we can be free of that? No. That's we're implicated. Bhakti, Vedic literatures, the Shastras. This is our guiding directions. The Lord has given us the Shastras. He spoke.
Our guiding, like how we guide ourselves without the Shastra.
No, we never guide ourselves without the Shastra. We only have to rely on the Shastra. Yes, how most people, I get what you're saying now. Okay. So these are our guiding directions for the conditioned souls. So this is why Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, all these things are there. And ultimately, we can revive our real consciousness, the real Chaitya that we have. The Chaitanya Charitamrita, does anyone know what it means?
Chaitanya Charitra is his character, and Mitra is like
Amrita is nectar.
nectar. But
The nectar?
the nectar of Chaitanya's character.
Yes. And what's Chaitanya?
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Yes. But what does Chaitanya mean? The living force. The living force.
The Chaitanya isn't the combination of Radharani and Krishna.
He is indeed the combination of Radharani and Krishna. But also he is the living force. All things are of the Chaitanya nature. All of us, all of you, everything is all living things. Shri Sachi Sutta Nitai ki, Prahlad Nrsimha ki, Vrindadevi Tulsi Maharani ki jai. So there's nectar in understanding the living force, and then ultimately the character of the supreme living force, which is Lord Chaitanya. But Chaitanya means the living force. And we are all part of the Chaitanya energy. But it's very, unfortunate that we are also using our living force very foolishly by associating with what energy? Maya, the illusory energy of the Lord. So it's in our best interest to revive our real consciousness, our real eternal nature. And that can be done by the revealed scriptures, in which the Lord is giving and guiding us. But, like I said, we're not so interested in the Lord's guides. Who's the ultimate guide of the Kali Yuga living entity? Yes, but who is Kali impelling one to be the guide? Our mind, yes. My way or the highway, like I've got this. But ultimately, this is foolish. So the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita that this created world and material energy are under my control, not your control, his control. Under the influence of Prakriti, automatically they are created again and again, and this is done by me through the agency of my external energy. Actually, the spiritual spark living entities have no material names or forms. But in order to fulfill their desire to lord it over the material energy of material forms and names, they are given a chance for such false enjoyment. So actually, we have no material names or forms. We give ourselves so many upadis or designations in this world. I am this, Ben Simmons of this lineage in this town, and this, and Craig Neubauer of this lineage in this town, and we designate so many things, but that has nothing to do with who we actually are. But if we look at how we live our lives, it's completely in relation to those upadis or those designations. So we have to somehow extricate ourselves from this illusion, thinking I'm this and that, and this is my relationship with this land and this family and this place. There's a greater relationship. Yes. Yes. Oh, and by the way, anyone can just always raise their hand and ask questions as we go, because we're just reading and things. So, but yes, go ahead.
I'm from Medeo family, and my uncle just passed, so I have to go associate with my whole
That's
family.
right.
because My uncle passed.
That's true. So I'm also doing, but there may be there can be a utilization of this, one of the things I'm a little excited for it. Not that I'm excited that my uncle had passed away. Honestly speaking, I think I'm very happy actually that I know he's in a better position because he was suffering for many years in the position he was in. So I'm relieved that Krishna has given him a better position. But yeah, so it's good actually. It's the Lord's mercy. It's hard for people to see when we're materially attached due to the designations. He's my uncle. He's, I loved him. He gave me pleasure in this way when I was with him. But ultimately, none of those things are really who they are. Like we're not going to go and see him at the funeral. We're going to go see his body, his shell that, he left behind. So ultimately we, right. But at the same time, you have a certain level of material duty. So you do it. But ultimately we have the ultimate duty is what? What's Bhagavad Gita's conclusion? Abandon all other duties and what? Yes. And what kind of dharma is that called? Bhagavat Dharma. We have Dharma to the Supreme Lord. So ultimately, what makes it my duty to go there isn't so much that he's my uncle and these are my family members, is that I may be able to, have an opportunity to serve the Lord in that circumstance. And I found last time, my aunt, my father's one sister, he's one of 8. So it'll be 7 times I have to do this, most likely in my life. I mean, 8 actually, because he'll go eventually too. And last time it was an incredibly healing and spiritual experience for my family. Lots of crying and lots of acknowledging the spiritual reality of death and the great hope that we can move forward in a transcendental direction. So all those things are stimulated by death.
Well,
So-
people are more receptive at the time because their mortality is in the forefront.
Yes, that's right. There's a famous axiom that people say if something along the lines that if everybody was faced with death regularly, that we'd all be spiritual. If we all saw death, it's something having to do with a bathing god. It's an axiom that people say. It's like a saying. Not a bathing god, a god where they burn the bodies in like on the Ganges or something. So, but if we all face death regularly, we'd realize the reality, that, oh, what am I doing? Focusing on these temporary things so much. This is the destination of all of this. What do I actually do? So this is so there's a potential use that for this body's dharma to go be there, that my mother and father are urging that I must go. But I'm also happy to go because I think there will be a good opportunity for actually serving my family members for the in some way. We'll see. Maybe I also there's a great opportunity to.
So this is something that happened recently.
Well, yesterday. So we're leaving Sunday mid-program. Actually, we'll have to go. But maybe we'll have a Mukunda give class on Sunday. So we'll see. So anyhow, actually, the spiritual spark. No material names or forms. Oh, this is where we're given a chance for such. But in order to fulfill their desire to lord it over the material energy of material forms and names, they're given a chance for such false enjoyment. And at the same time, they are given a chance to understand the real position through the revealed scriptures. The foolish and forgetful living beings, but are always busy. I'm wrong. The foolish and forgetful living being is always busy with false forms and false names. Modern nationalism is the culmination of such false names and false forms. Any political movement, any activist movement that people want to join in this material world just has to do with bodily designations, false forms and false names. This isn't, any ism and that, this ism and that ism. Like, for instance, veganism or vegetarianism. Many devotees find themselves getting very active in these spheres. But actually, we're not vegans or vegetarians. We're prasaditarians. Without taking that food and offering it to the Lord, yes, maybe it's less karmically detrimental. You're not going to experience as much pain and suffering due to the reaction to that. But ultimately, it's going to implicate you in the material world, and it's going to perpetuate the same problems that we've always been perpetuating. So ultimately, this is because due to our foolish and forgetfulness, we don't actually understand who we are and what's really important. So we get caught in political movements. We'll get caught in some type of humanitarian movement. But ultimately, what's the ultimate political, social, humanitarian movement? Is to extricate the living being from its bondage. So this is ultimately what has to happen. And this is what the ladies they're recognizing about the Lord. They're recognizing his position and our position as the living entities, being bewildered by his external energy. But they're actually quite fortunate because now they're liberated. They're wholly and solely focused on him, which is what we should be doing. Just like all of the parts of the body should work together to feed the stomach. If they have a science. If a little piece of the body goes mutant and mutates and has its own rogue agenda and wants to take certain things and store it in certain places, what do they call this? Cancer. We in the material world are like this is a little dark, but we're the cancer of the world. We are the cancers that have to be removed. Because why? We try and hoard and accumulate and make plans, and this is my plan, this is my plan. We don't care so much for the Lord's plan. So ultimately, the cosmic body of the Lord is, let's get rid of this thing. An annihilation, it comes. But every little you could sell cell, we just get rid of the cells that we don't like, the cancers and things. We blast them with radiation. This is not good policy, by the way, for these type of things. But anyway, we do anything to get rid of these cells. But the Lord is not like that. He keeps giving us chances and chances. And every universe, every lifetime is a chance for you to finally take the narrow path that Jesus talks about, in which you can finally extricate yourself from this prison, which causes what? What do people experience in prison? Yes, very good, Tanmay. Misery. Your prison is a miserable place, and you have to reform. Prabhupada was talking about it before. It's the rectification of our rebellious attitude. That's why you go to prison in the first place, because you were rebellious, not interested in following the Lord's ways and guidance. My way or the highway. And then the highway leads you right to hell. And now we're here in a hellish situation, and it can get a lot worse. And it will get a lot worse for those who don't take to the rectification process. But by great fortune, you're all, to some degree or another, taking to the rectification process. So, I don't want to go over time. I have to see the time. Oh, we actually got going early today. So the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, no, I'm way behind. Where am I? Oh, modern nationalism is the culmination of such false names and false forms. Men are mad after false name and form. The form of body obtained under certain conditions is taken up as factual, and the name also taken bewilders the conditioned soul into misusing the energy in the name of so many isms. The scriptures, however, supply the clue for understanding the real position, but men are reluctant to take lessons from the scriptures created by the Lord for different places and times. For example, the Bhagavad Gita is the guiding principle for every human being, but by the spell of material energy, they do not take care to carry out the programs of life in terms of the Bhagavad Gita. Srimad Bhagavatam is the postgraduate study of knowledge for one who has thoroughly understood the principles of the Bhagavad Gita. Unfortunately, people have no taste for them, and therefore they are under the clutches of Maya for repetition of birth and death. So this is the sad reality. The Lord has given us the solution, and not just the Vedic scriptures are so potent and so direct, but unfortunately, even the other scriptures, the Torah, the Quran, the Bible, the New Testament, which is also kind of like part of the Bible. This is available for people, but even, most people don't want to take to that, or they cherry pick the little pieces that they like to, ultimately pray for prosperity in the material world. And they have the prosperity gospels in all of their different religions. Why? Because they're looking to be, kings of this material world, essentially. But ultimately, this has nothing to do with who we are, and it must come to an end. It's a foolish plan in the first place.
It's amazing. It still amazes me all the time about how people aspire to gain wealth and power and position and stuff. You're gonna die just like everybody else. I mean, what are you left with? What did it really gain you?
Nothing. Which is why this is an eternal process of just misery. And who wants to get into eternal misery? And no one would be raising their hand. But unfortunately, they think it'll give them happiness. That's why it keeps happening. And Prabhupada says we're mad after material names and forms. We become mad after things that have nothing to do with us. Like all my relatives and I are going to go look at the shell of the body that was once inhabited by my uncle, but we'll all recognize that that's not him. The life, the soul, the vital essence, which he really is not going to be present there. So this is all what it all leads to. This is a very nice verse. Let's go on to the next verse. Savayam yat paramatra surayo.
Savayam yat paramatra surayo.
Jitendriya nirjita matarash.
Jitendriya nirjita matarish.
Ishwanaha matarishwanaha. Pashyanti bhaktyut kalita malatmana.
Shanti bhakti utakalitmana atmana.
Nanvesha sattvam parimashtumarhati.
Sattvam parimarshtamati.
Saha, he, by providence. Ayam, this, yet, that which. Paramatra, here is the same personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Surayaha, great devotees. Jita Indriya, who have overcome the influence of the senses. Nirjita, thoroughly controlled. Matarishwanaha, life. Pashyanti, can see. Bhakti, by dint of devotional service. Utkalita, developed. Amala Atmana, those whose minds are thoroughly cleansed. Nanu Esha, certainly by this only. Sattvam, existence. Parimarshtum, for purifying the mind completely. Arhati, deserve. Translation. Here is the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose transcendental form is experienced by the great devotees, who are completely cleansed of material consciousness by dint of rigid devotional service. Dint means like means, by the process. By dint of rigid devotional service and full control of life and the senses. And that is the only way to purify existence. This is a very heavy verse telling us the only way to actually purify ourselves. There's so many cheating gurus who say, no, you can do it like this, or you can do it like this. And just support my foundation and things like that. No problem. But ultimately, the Supreme Lord is not so liberal in that way. He's very liberal. You can reach this process in any which way, but ultimately, this is the process. Rigid devotional service and full control of life and the senses. If you don't take full control of your life, the senses, and perform rigid devotional service, which is the Lord's energy that ultimately leads the living entity to its liberated and beyond state of eternal pleasure, if you don't take to this and control your life, control your senses, control your vehicle from which you can practice this thing, you will never experience purified existence, and you'll never experience the real happiness that comes in purified existence. So if we want happiness, and we all do, we're all a bit materially motivated. Use your material motivation and use your knowledge that you acquired to be like, all right, I have to do this. And then eventually you have to work in the process of transforming everything for your own desire, for the Lord's desire. Even if it's your desire to be happy, which everyone's desire is to be happy. But if you really want to be happy, you just like the prisoner, if he gets out on good behavior, he'll be happier. So what does he do? Just like the employer, if your boss tells you to do a bunch of things you don't necessarily want to do, and you could go around and not do those things, but the good chance is if you need that job, you're going to get fired. But if you tolerate it, all right, well, he wants me to do this. Okay, I can do that. Fine. It'll make me happier. He'll still pay me. I could still do the things I need. This is relatable. But ultimately, in the Lord, seeing he's not so hands-on, where it's not so obvious that a punishment's coming. He's not threatening you. If you read his scriptures, there are, you could say, very strong words like this to tell you what you need to do. But ultimately, for whatever reason, we get so illusioned into the importance of other things. But this is the means. Full control of the life and the senses, like this verse we read right now, right? The first verse of Upadeshamrita, Vacho vegam, manasakroda vegam, jiva vegam, udara pasta vegam, etan vegan, yo vishaheta diraha, sarvam apimam pritibim sashishya. Controlling the speech, controlling the mind, controlling the forces of anger, relating only these things to the Lord. This is the way. And this is what the process of rigid devotional service. You have to train yourself. That's why in the beginning, we're kind of like militaristic. All right, we wake up at this time, we do this process, we sing this song, and like this, because over and over, we need that training, that rigidity to eventually be established in that. And then once, we're going, then it can become a little bit more spontaneous. But if we never ultimately take to the Shastric way and the Shastric path and fully control our life and our senses, we'll never receive a purified existence. And this verse is declaring. So, oh, you're raising your hand, or? Okay, itching your head. As it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord can be known in his real nature by means or by dint of pure devotional service only. So it is stated here that only the great devotees of the Lord, who are able to clear the mind of all material dust by rigid devotional service, can experience the Lord as he is. Jitendriya means one who has full control over the senses. The senses are active parts of the body, and their activities cannot be stopped. The artificial means of the yogic processes to make the senses inactive has proved to be abject. I just want to Google abject because I like to know what words mean exactly. Abject definition. Of something bad, experienced or present to the maximum degree. So in this circumstance of failure, it's maximum failure for trying to make the senses inactive. You cannot do it. Even in the case of great yogis like Vishwamitra Muni, Vishwamitra Muni controlled the senses by yogic trance, but when he happened to meet Menaka, a heavenly society woman, he became a victim of sex, and the artificial way of controlling the senses failed. But in the case of a pure devotee, the senses are not at all artificially stopped from doing anything, but they are given different good engagements. When the senses are engaged in more attractive activities, there's no chance of their being attracted by any inferior engagements. That's why, we try to have such a routine. We should always be engaged in devotional service. The idle mind is what? The devil's playground. And all of a sudden you're going, as soon as you're idle, finished. So we can't be lazy in this process. We always have to be engaged in some type of devotional service. And what that is different, like many great devotees, you may look like what are they doing? They're just sitting and chanting all day. They're sitting and chanting, sitting and chanting. They go be much more useful than that. Some may claim. But it depends on their consciousness. If their consciousness in that chanting, they're so engaged in a devotional process, it's a completely different thing. But in our process where we're at, maybe sitting and chanting all day wouldn't be so practical because our chanting isn't so effective. Our chanting is motivated. Our chanting is maybe forced. I'm just trying to hit this number, something like this. So we have to also... That's why there's all kinds of different seva engagements to be engaged in. But the main thing is we should approach those who are more advanced than us. Pratipanena, become very humble and submissive before them. Pariprashnena, we should ask them relevant questions and have them guide us on what we should be doing. And then sevaya, then to act on their guidance and do that service. So this is ultimately the process. So you can't be stopped. When the senses are engaged in more attractive activities, there's no chance of their being attracted by any inferior engagements. When you develop a higher taste, like the Bhagavad Gita says, the activities of lower taste will not be there. But you have to become submissive. If you never become submissive and you're always very prideful, you're finished. This is our biggest problem. Why do you think Lord Chaitanya, he says, Nam namakari bahudani jasarva shaktis, tachar pitani amita smarane nakalaha, etadrishi tavakripa bhagavan mamapi, durdaiv midu shamihajani nanaragaha. The Lord, you have invested all your potencies in your name. You have millions of names. We can chant them any time, place, circumstance. It doesn't matter. I'm so unfortunate. I have no attraction for them. So what's the solution he gives? Trinada pisunichena tarora pisa hishnuna. Becoming more humble than grass, more tolerant than a tree. Amanina, becoming prideless. Manadena, ready to give respect to all others. And then we can chant the names of the Lord constantly. So this is the process. We have to become submissive. We have to become submissive to our seniors. We have to become submissive. Ultimately, it would be beautiful to have a spiritual master that we could wholly and solely serve. Everybody, here we're all serving Prabhupada. Prabhupada was, an incredible spiritual master for this world. And he was the one who brought this for the English speaking world. We can all take this, but there are those who are representing Srila Prabhupada. We can serve them. And ultimately, they can help engage us properly because naturally the mind always is trying to, benefit the false designations. So ultimately, unless we're engaged by, the expert senior or the expert spiritual master, ideally, we'll always kind of do what we like to do, what we want to do, but maybe we're not interested in what the Lord actually wants. Maybe the Lord is always requesting what we're doing. That happened to me so many times, with my guru and so many other seniors and mentors. Would be like, oh, you should do this. And I'd be like, I'm going to do this and I'll do my service like this over here. And it always displeased them, but they're humble. They're never like, all right, but ultimately I didn't realize until I started doing things ultimately with serving the way they wanted me to serve. That's when things really shifted in my life. Because I was like so caught up in this way, but I was a fool because I was so arrogant thinking, oh, and then I was wondering why I didn't have a taste for the process. Because I'm so prideful that there's no way I could even ever have a taste for the process of being completely submissive to someone or something. So ultimately, I've had to learn this, and I still have to learn this, actually. I've had so many Ben, for instance, has been here for a couple of years and he's seen so many ups and downs in this place. And a lot of that has come just because I had to learn and I had to go to my seniors and check in more. And then I was, so many things you can't predict. We're so prideful. We think, oh, I can control everything. I can control and enjoy everything. But you can't control and enjoy anything unless you're checking in with ultimately someone more advanced than you are. You become arrogant, prideful, and then you'll just make mistakes. And then you'll suffer due to your mistakes. And we just do this over and over again. And we get stagnant in our spiritual life because we can't check our pride. We can't actually become amanina. We can't actually properly become manadena, ready to offer all respect unto others based on their position. So this is our issue. So let's finish this paragraph and finish. That's right. Always. This is a universal science. That's why it says this is the only way to purify existence is rigid devotional service. And how has it come? What I just explained, that verse, is you have to become pranipatina, very submissive. And then ready to actually pariprashnina. What should I do? How do I get through this thing? And then sevaya, become engaged in the service. They'll engage you. That person, they'll be able to engage you. So like this is the Krishna's guidance in Bhagavad Gita, how to approach the spiritual master. So anyhow, let's finish. When the senses are engaged in more attractive activities, there's no chance of their being attracted by any inferior engagements. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the senses can be controlled only by better engagements. Devotional service necessitates purifying the senses or engaging them in the activities of devotional service. Devotional service is not inaction. Anything done in the service of the Lord becomes at once purified of its material nature. The material conception is due to ignorance only. There is nothing beyond Vasudeva. The Vasudeva conception gradually develops in the heart of the learned after a prolonged acceleration of the receptive organs. So that's pretty far out. I'm going to have to wrap my head around that. So the Vasudeva conception is understanding like the Advaita consciousness, that all is Krishna, all is Krishna, even when he's coming to in a way that you don't necessarily like how he's showing up right now. All is Krishna, all is for some higher purpose. But ultimately, it comes by training. And the material conception, the dualistic things, separating this and that and not realizing the only thing we have to do is serve the Vasudeva conception. The only thing we have to do is devotional service. There's not one other thing. Well, it's like, I'll do my bhakti, 8, 15, 20 hours a week, and then I'll do my other thing. No, everything should be devotional service. Everything. There is not another activity that you have to do. There's devotional service and devotional service. That's it. Now, what other activities, like maintaining the house, maintaining the finances, all these other things can be devotional service, should be devotional service. But that's ultimately, we have to reach somehow the Vasudeva conception. And it's not easy. But by practicing devotional service and controlling your life and senses, you will purify. It's a guaranteed science. Guaranteed. So, your food, try to eat only what? Prasadam, with your activities, always try and think of Krishna in your activities. You're at work, let's see if you can sneak a little kirtan, play it on your phone somewhere. You got a little device that can bring you devotional service. We oftentimes think, oh, these devices bring us into Maya. They absolutely can. Mine brings me into Maya way too much. But also it can be used in devotional service. All these facilities are here for devotional service. This is Vasudeva conception. So we somehow have to come to this. And it can happen by serving those who are on that platform and who can help us realize and remember that. Actually, it's amazing. My wife just typed it out last night. We have a great lineup of guests coming this year. I think the most near, even next week, we have Nrsimha, who his father is actually a disciple of Srila Prabhupada in the Gaudiya Math. His name is Bhagavatam Maharaj. But Nrsimha is his son and a lifelong devotee, a born devotee. He's very nice. So he'll come here. He should be giving classes next Saturday, Sunday, and even Bhagavatam classes. He'll be here. Also next Sunday is Ram Navami. So please come if you can. It's a very important day, Lord Ram's appearance.
This coming Sunday.
Yes, not tomorrow or not 2 days, in 9 days. 9 days? Put it on your calendar, Craig. Oh, very good. So yes, and Nrsimha will be here for that. That'll be very nice. So anyhow, let me finish here. Oh, the Vasudeva conception gradually develops in the heart of the learned after a prolonged acceleration of the receptive organs. So after a prolonged engagement in devotional service, then naturally it will come. That's why there's a Vaidhi system. Vaidhi means like following all these rules. Once you train all the organs to do these things, then and it's amazing how it just happens. How when you're doing the ordinary duties that you've always been doing for the Lord, all of a sudden these spontaneous emotions on how you would like to serve or how you're serving, they arise. But you have to first train yourself to walk. Be trained how to walk in devotional service. Not thinking, I'll do it myself. I know how to do it. This is our pride. So it has to be checked. And it's a really it's fascinating how Krishna forces you into humility to make advancement. So and it's our great fortune, actually. He does it, but it's painful for the false ego, because the false ego definitely wants anything but being humble. The false ego wants to be the knower of things, to be the doer, the accomplisher. This is the false ego. So anyhow, the controller and the enjoyer. But the process ends in the knowledge of accepting Vasudeva as all in all. In the case of devotional service, this very same method is accepted from the very beginning, and by the grace of the Lord, all factual knowledge becomes revealed in the heart of a devotee due to dictation by the Lord from within him. Therefore, controlling the senses by devotional service is the only and easiest means. And so what actually happens eventually, it's not the recommended beginning process to try to only tap into the source within you, because in our unskilled beginning phase, what we end up tapping into is the cheating dictations of Maya via our mind. And ultimately, we're not guided by the Chaitya Guru, which is the Lord from within, or the super soul. We're guided by the dictations of the senses and the mind. So, but at some point, and this is a deeper teaching in the Bhagavatam teaches you how to connect to Sri Guru everywhere at all times, and how Sri Guru is within you as well. But this is a very advanced teaching, and maybe we've seen glimpses of it in our life. We've gotten people call it the conscience. You know, my conscience is telling me this or something like that, or a deeper intuition, and it's there. What's that?
The little voice.
Yeah, the little voice behind the whirlwinds of the mind. But ultimately, it's a science on how to connect to this, and it needs to be learned. And usually, if you're greatly fortunate, that same Lord within your heart who's there, he will send a representative to show you. And that's how Sri Guru shows up in so many different ways. You know, one is very fortunate if you have an empowered spiritual master, like all the devotees of Prabhupada had him for 11 years. And we still have what he left, his legacy via his books. But then after that, they had to rely on different forms of guru, maybe seniors, you know, like Srila Prabhupada had other contemporaries. Like he even won Srila Sridhar Maharaj. He considered his Shiksha guru, and many of his disciples heard from him. And then also after a while, by practicing and following, then many are guided now from within by their advancement. But that can't be cheaply imitated. Like, oh, I'll just guide myself from within. I don't need an external guru. This is such foolishness, actually. And it's all it is actually is pride. Not ever thinking that you need help, that you could use help. Humility, one would realize, that's why Jesus says, blessed are the humble and the meek and the mild. Why? Because they're ready to actually get a solution. They're recognizing the problem. They're recognizing they're powerless in solving the problems. But in that humility, then the Lord can actually provide salvation. If you think, oh, there's no problem, I'm greater than all these problems, I'll rise above all these problems. Well, then the Lord's, oh, well, you don't want a solution? Fine. You actually, yourself, you will turn away from any solution because you've got it all figured out on your own. Right? Is it not? This is not how we do things. Like, do you ever just you know, try to do, for me, like physical manual labor is like the bane of my existence. Like I've, you know, just like waste, you know, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I was never trained. My dad never trained me in anything like that, you know. And so like sometimes I'll sit and I'll try and put something together, or I'll try and work on a project if there's a problem in the house or something like that. And it takes me forever. But just someone who like knows what they're doing, they'll come in and they'll hit this, bop this, tap this, and it's done in like 5 minutes. I'm like, oh my God, you know, like it's amazing that you just did that. How did you do that? You know, spiritual, everything is like that in life. If you just know, if you're humble and you go before the professional or someone who can actually do the thing properly, bam, boom, zip, this adjustment, done, all your problems. But we're just so prideful. Oh, I'll figure it out eventually, or, you know, maybe not in this lifetime, maybe the next lifetime. No, bam, zip, zap, it can happen very quickly. Very quickly. Someone can solve all your issues. But your issue is you're not humble enough to accept help. You're not humble enough to want help. That is your issue. So don't be so foolish. Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining us in Bhagavatam today. And I was preaching to myself because I need that